Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are excited for you to be here with us today to launch our brand new No Limits programme. The No Limits programme has been funded by OxLEP Skills and delivered in partnership with SOFEA and Aspire. My name is Ria and I'm the No Limits programme manager. I will be delivering this webinar today with some of my colleagues from OxLEP Skills and SOFEA. Who you will meet a little later on. Thank you for giving up your precious time over lunch today. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the chat. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's session. We do have some dedicated time at the end of today's presentation, so we do really hope that you can pop some questions in the chat for us today. Today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-webinar, so just to let you know that. Okay, let's get started then. So today we are going to briefly talk about the skills landscape in Oxfordshire, provide an overview of the OxLEP social skills contract, provide a detailed overview of the No Limits programme as part of the OxLEP skills contract. We will be providing you with an opportunity to meet the team running the No Limits programme, and we will be hosting a Q&A session at the end. So like I said, please do pop all of your questions into the chat. So just a quick overview of the Oxfordshire labour market and skills landscape. So current stats show around 8,000 people are unemployed in Oxfordshire. Unemployment is highest in Oxford City and Cherwell. 75,500 people are economically inactive, with only 5,000 of those actually wanting a job. The highest levels of economic inactivity exist in the Cherwell district. There's an additional challenge in Oxfordshire that Oxfordshire has an ageing population, and also the number of people who are NEET is increasing. Labour shortages in Oxfordshire were amplified and are now acute in sectors such as hospitality, health and social care and logistics since the COVID-19 pandemic. There has also been a sharp decline in the number of EU residents settling in the UK, amplifying an already tight labour market. We're also seeing amplified deprivation in terms of financial insecurity, and that's only going to get worse, the cost of living crisis and intensified digital divide. There's not all doom and gloom. There is a significant increase in the number of new business starts in Oxfordshire, particularly in retail, real estate and head office activities, support, food and beverage services. Some sectors such as life sciences have seen significant growth associated with research and vaccine development, and many businesses pivoted their business models during the pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic also resulted in an increased interest in working in the adult social care sector. And transferable skills can enable workforces hit hardest by redundancies to transition into our labour and skills shortage sectors and occupations that we are experiencing. I am delighted to hand over to Sarah Marlowe now, Skills Hub Deputy Manager for OxLEP Skills, to provide a brief overview of the OxLEP Skills social contract.
Thank you, Ria, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this launch webinar. As Ria said, we are very excited. So just to give you a little bit of background information on the social contract programme overview. So as you can see, this is a £1.7 million programme. The funding has come through the Community Outbreak Management Fund, which is delivered through Oxfordshire County Council. And the whole programme is delivering between spring this year right through until Christmas 2023, and then obviously we'll just be finishing off the programme into March 2024. And the main aims of this programme are to address the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. And OxLEP's role as a local enterprise partnership in Oxfordshire is to champion Oxfordshire's economic potential, and we hope to act as a catalyst and convener to drive a dynamic, sustainable and growing economy. So what we're looking to do through this programme is to support 4 groups of people, so 4 cohorts, and those are young people, particularly those who've experienced educational disturbance or at risk of NEET or not being in employment, education and training. We're also looking to support our minority ethnic communities in Oxfordshire, and also those furthest from the labour market. So it might be those who were clinically extremely vulnerable during the pandemic, and also those who are experiencing food poverty now as a result of the cost of living crisis, and also digital divide. And then finally, we're looking to support the over 50s who were impacted particularly hard during the pandemic around redundancies. So we're really looking to reskill and upskill that cohort. So the focus areas are on unemployment, barriers to employment, education and training. Excuse me. And we hope that the impacts of our work will have benefit for health and well-being for individuals, local communities and businesses. Thanks. Next slide, please. So we are working in partnership with Aspire and SOFEA on this No Limits programme. We're delighted to be able to work with them, but there are lots of other parts to the social contract programme as well. So just to push out one idea which you might like to join in with as well. We have our OxGrow virtual mentoring platform, which is just launching. We are particularly keen to engage some mentors from across Oxfordshire, people who have experience in working in Oxfordshire region, who might be able to offer some very light touch mentoring support to those people who are just needing that little bit of additional guidance and motivation, maybe a little bit of support just to move back into employment or training. So we are looking for mentors to support people who are over the age of 18. So if you are already providing similar services, or you work in an industry and you think that your experience or your colleagues' experience and knowledge might help someone else to move into your sector, then please do contact us. The details at the bottom there, you can click on the ox.connector.co.uk grow to signpost any mentees, and soon we'll have enough mentors to support those mentees coming into the programme. But if you want to become a mentor yourself, or you know somebody who'd be great at that, please do signpost them to email us at skills@oxfordshirelec.com to sign up. So that's it from me today. As I say, we're delighted to be working with the 2 ladies from SOFEA and Aspire. So I'm going to be handing back to Ria now, who's going to tell you much more about the No Limits programme.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So really good overview of the wider social contract project. So the No Limits programme specifically is a £400,000 programme that is going to enable SOFEA and Aspire to introduce a comprehensive programme of support over the next 14 months, so between now and Christmas next year, to address the legacy impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and now the cost of living crisis. We will be working from community settings across Oxfordshire, the whole of Oxfordshire, and we will be providing person-centred and focused support, supporting people who have been at risk of being held back by the detrimental effects of the pandemic. We will also be supporting the key sectors identified as priorities in the Oxfordshire Economic Recovery Plan. These sectors are the health and social care sector, hospitality, visitor economy, and construction. The types of support we will provide, I will go into a bit more detail shortly, but they will include providing digital devices, digital training, intensive employment support, and travel bursaries as well. So just a quote here from the OxLEP Skills Local Skills Report that was published in May 2022. The longer term impact of the COVID-19 pandemic for hardest hit sectors remains to be seen, in particular the retail, hospitality and visitor economy sectors. However, in 2021, there was a fall of 22,500 people in the actual number of people in employment. So this project will be focusing on them vital key sectors, in addition to supporting key economic strength sectors and breakthrough businesses that we have in Oxfordshire as well. Oxfordshire has an increasingly ageing population and a historically tight labour market. Job growth has been focused on knowledge-intensive STEM and technology professional, associate professional and technician roles, as well as managerial and senior leadership roles. Half of all occupations in Oxfordshire require degree or higher level 4+ qualifications, compared to just a third nationally. So this hopefully is painting a picture of how tight the labour market really is in Oxfordshire. So this programme is very much needed, and what we will be doing is supporting a minimum of 224 people in Oxfordshire into education, employment and training, and they will be supported with up to 30 hours of one-to-one support. 100% of all participants will be supported to make positive steps forward. 75% of participants will be supported to make progress towards the labour market. 50% of participants will be supported to be work ready, and 25% of participants we hope to support into paid employment or apprenticeships. Many of those impacted most by the pandemic have digital accessibility and digital learning challenges, and we recognise that digital devices can be a massive barrier to education, employment and training. So this programme will be distributing 460 refurbished digital devices, 230 Wi-Fi dongles that will provide households with 6 months of free Wi-Fi, 14 train the trainer days, so we will be training people within the community to deliver community digital training to the people that need it most. We will also be rolling out other digital training and providing SIM cards and data. We really want to tackle the barriers that people have and are experiencing to education, employment and training in the county. Another big barrier for people is travel, particularly because Oxfordshire is a rural county and there's lots of travel limitations. So we will be providing, where necessary, our participants with bus travel passes, train travel passes, electric scooter hire packages that can last up to 6 months, and petrol moped hire packages, again for 6 months, to help people get to education, employment and training places. So I will now be handing over to my colleague Taraji, No Limits Programme Manager for SOFEA, to take us through the remainder of the presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, Ria. That's a really good overview so far. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, in terms of accessing the community, now with our aim to get Oxfordshire community closer to the labour market, like Ria mentioned, that's including education, training or employment, we will have our triage workers going into the community through all SOFEA ladders and Aspire hubs and other community settings like yourselves. And the main aim is to meet participants who might need some help with their next steps or whatever that may be. They're going to aim to provide a person-centered approach, really focusing on supporting people who have been at risk of being held back by the detrimental effects of the pandemic, and possibly might also be at risk of being affected by the cost of living crisis currently going on. Next slide, please, Ria. Thank you. So could this work? You know, that might be a question for you. Could it work? We say yes, it could, because for participants, it's a familiar environment for our clients. They're comfortable with the larder staff. They're comfortable with the volunteers that they meet regularly, weekly. It's also a safe space for them. And they're provided with light touch support initially, which is intended to lead into more formalized pathways to training, employment, or upskilling or reskilling for good jobs now and in the future. So from light touch to start off, that will lead up to 30 hours of one-to-one support. And we're also using the community, like the ladders, to build further links within Oxfordshire, like yourselves, hence you being here today, because we can't actually do it without you guys. So we know we need various community partners, other people working in the community to help reach out to those participants that need the help the most. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's our team. We've got Ria, who's given us a brief overview, a really good overview of the program so far. She's the program manager and will also be out in the community as a triage worker. Then we've got myself, Taraji. I'm also a program manager, but will also be in the community working and meeting participants. Then we've got Natalia from Aspire, who will be working as a triage worker. And currently we will have one more person joining us in the new year. So we have 4 people on our team. Next slide, please. Okay. Awesome. So this is an overview. This is really just to let you guys know that we will be covering the whole of Oxfordshire. So we've got West Oxfordshire, Sherwell, Oxford City, Vale of Whitehorse, South Oxfordshire. Between the 4 of us, we'll be covering all 19 larders, as well as other community settings and Aspire hubs as well, just to ensure that all areas are covered. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the interesting part. If you wanted to make a referral, perhaps you knew someone in the community who might need some help, please email one of the team members, that's myself or Ria, and that way you can refer them to us and we can now refer them to the most appropriate community triage worker in Oxfordshire. Next slide, please. Okay, so the reason why we're here today is because we need you. So it's actually a plea because there's a lot going out there with the cost of living and a lot of families will unfortunately struggle. And it couldn't have come at a better time, this program. So we need community partners and local employers to reach out to us. If you know people who might need the support, please email us. And perhaps we could build valuable skills as well to support the people of Oxfordshire and support our community. That's why we're here. Please just send an email to Ria, who's the program manager, or myself, and we will be able to help that participant or perhaps help your individual in the community as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of contact, I don't know if most of us here probably know about SOFEA, but if you don't and want to find out more information about how SOFEA can help, please go onto their website. You can also send us an email on the email address stated on there. And if you wanted to find out more about the bigger social contract here, we've got OxLEP's details. We will send the presentation at the end, so you could have all those details and you could scan that and then find out more about the social contract and how you could be a part of the movement. Next slide, please. Awesome. So here's references where we got our data and our facts. We got them from these websites, so you can have a look as well. There's so much information on there, so it's good to have a look and see what's going on in Oxfordshire. Next slide, please. Thank you. And that's it from us. We do want you to ask questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat and we will answer all your questions. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so we've got one question here. So, okay, we've got a few coming in. So Mel says, can you remind us what the eligibility criteria are for the social contract program? Okay, so in terms of the eligibility, yeah, sure, Melanie. We are working with 4 focus groups. So we've got the 16+ NEET or at risk of NEET. That's not in education, employment or training. We've also got the minority people from minority ethnic backgrounds. We've got over 50s and we are going to be working with people furthest away from the labour market. And most importantly, they all have to have an Oxfordshire postcode. I hope that answers your question, Mel.
Brilliant. We've got another question come in. Is there support for people in employment but are unhappy in their work? So this programme very much is trying to move people towards the labour market. So I don't think that's quite covered in our remit, but at SOFEA we do have lots of contacts. So if you would like to contact us, we can definitely put you in touch with some agencies and partner organisations that can help with that. And we've had another question, what is the age criteria? So we work with 16 plus, and there's no upper age limit because one of our target groups, like Taraji said, is the over 50s and getting them back to employment. Had another question here, as most causes of unemployment are actually complex, what support, for example, do you provide for the biggest barriers to employment following COVID? Ill health and caring responsibilities? Absolutely. So we're building links with lots of local partnerships, including social prescribers, GPs, and 2 fantastic caring charities that operate in Oxfordshire. So we are using our partners to help people with them barriers. The first thing we actually do when we work with a new participant is to find out their barriers, and then working with our partners, we can help them to overcome them barriers. So we do have partnerships in the health and care areas. So that's great, thank you. Yeah.
We've got one here from Andrew, not a question, but he says, thank you for supporting the young person I was supporting as he has now started at SOFEA. So you're welcome, Andrew. So his participant is now doing a placement at SOFEA.
And that wouldn't be possible without our programme because one of his barriers was travel, so we have provided a travel bursary. So it's great that the programme is already supporting people so far, so that's great. So we've had another question from Mal, how long will the No Limits programme run for? So it will be running until end of December 2023. So we've got 13 months of delivery left. So please do keep popping in your questions into the chat. We've had another one. Are you partnering up with the NHS? Yeah, absolutely. We already have links with the NHS through our work with our social prescribers at SOFEA and Aspire. So we do already have these links and partnerships. But if you know of anyone that you want to refer, just let us know. Brilliant. And I can see that we've actually got some NHS social prescribers on the call, which is fantastic. So I hope that we can work together. How soon can we access mopeds? So that's a very good question. So it's a little bit complex and it depends on the individual. So our moped packages can provide absolutely everything, right from applying and paying for a provisional license through to CBT, so the compulsory bike training test. So in answer to your question, Deborah, as soon as you can refer someone to us that has a travel barrier to access an employment, education and training, the sooner we can get them set up with a travel bursary. And if that's a moped, then that's absolutely fine. So the sooner the better, but it does depend on individual circumstances, I'm afraid. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, please do pop it in the chat. Great, thank you. So we've got about 6 minutes left, everyone. So if you've got any burning questions that we haven't answered, if you could pop them in the chat, we would be happy to answer them. We've also got Sarah from OxLEP. So if you've got any social contract questions, you could pop them in the chat. Are there any marketing materials that we can share with others? Yes, that's a really good question, Nikki. Thank you. Specifically sharing the information with the 53 schools and colleges in the Oxfordshire Careers Hub who can pass the information on to families. That's absolutely great, Nikki. What I'll do is I'll take it away as an action to distribute that marketing material to you. And we will also be distributing material through OxLEP as well. So yeah, we will take that away. We do have some marketing materials. I'll take that away as an action. We've had another question. I work with life skills students at Oxford College. Fantastic. The young people who have several barriers, absolutely. Would they be eligible for referrals? So we are really looking on this programme to move people towards education, employment and training that aren't in education, employment and training. So yeah, a bit of a tricky one really with that one. When can we start referring people to you? Now, absolutely. The programme's open. We're already working with participants. We've already provided travel bursaries to get people closer to the labour market. So make a referral now. How will you partner with and reach to other community organisations aside from the larders? Very good question, Jonathan. Thank you. So our larders work from community settings, where most of the community settings, loads of other groups are present, or at least use the space. So just from that, we've already been working with other community organisations, charities, and churches, and all sorts of different organisations just through working from the larders. So that's been great. And we're also using our SOFEA and Aspire links and partnering with partners that we already work with. Yeah, marketing materials. So someone else has said that's been useful. So we will take that away as an action and distribute that. Perfect. Any other questions for the last 4 minutes of the webinar then? I feel like Sarah hasn't had any questions. If you've got any social contract questions, you can pop them in the chat. If not, we've got about 4 more minutes before we close for any other questions. If you don't feel like you want to pop a question in, you have got our email addresses. So please do email us if you've got any questions. So how can employers within the sector's details support you and the programme? That's a really good question. Thank you, Catherine. So we want to work with employers that have vacancies and maybe labour shortages, and we want to work with them to see how we can move our participants into apprenticeships or paid employment with you, and working really closely with you regarding that participant and their individual needs. So that's a really good question. Sarah, got your hand up.
Thank you. If I could just add to that as well, the social contract programme, as I said, has lots of other elements to it. So if there are sectors, organisations, businesses out there who would like to potentially utilise underspent levy, for example, to get a new apprentice started, or they'd like to perhaps use up some of their own underutilised levy, then we have apprenticeship advisors in the team. There are lots of other things going on, so please do use that scan code, the QR code that was shown earlier, just to have a look at the whole social contract programme and find out more about how you can support.
Sarah, while you're there, we've got another question for you. Do people for the programme have to be neat, or can they be in education and ready to move on?
No, so they don't have to be neat. We're obviously supporting that cohort of people, those who are sort of really having challenges or have experienced educational disturbance. But the guys at Aspire and SOFEA work with people to get them into employment, education and training. So if you're going through that route through SOFEA and Aspire, that was a combination, then they should be able to advise and guide you as to where the best support is by signposting.
Brilliant, thank you. And we've had another really good question here. What is the difference between this and the work programme? So as you know, SOFEA and Aspire deliver lots of work, other work programmes. The difference here is we are tackling the barriers people have, and we have bursaries for them barriers, and that's what makes us unique to the other work programmes out there. So we have travel bursaries and also digital bursaries as well. So that's what makes us a little bit different. Taraji, a question for you. Is there a larder in the Banbury area? Because you cover the Banbury area, don't you?
No. So no, there isn't a larder in the Banbury area, but what we've been doing is liaising and trying to create relationships with the community here at Banbury. So for example, we have participants from the Banbury Mosque. And we are trying to create links with other community organisations within Banbury. And I've been going out giving out leaflets to little community hubs as well. Yeah.
So yeah, no larder unfortunately, but lots of connections there. We've had another question, probably our last one we're going to be able to take today. So a number of schools have high numbers of year 11s with low attendance who they're concerned about, possibly won't take their GCSEs and no firm destinations for year 12. So will become NEET. Can we work with them? Absolutely we can. And also SOFEA has a fantastic education programme that might even work for these young people that you talk about, Nikki. So yes, we can, and so can SOFEA's education programme. So please do get in touch, or yeah, maybe a meeting with the school might be more appropriate there. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. We have run out of time, but I really do hope that you can email us with your referrals, start getting them referrals in. We're happy to come and speak to your staff or your community groups about how we can help. It was absolutely lovely. Thank you for all your questions. I will be distributing this recording, and it will be put on YouTube, so you can watch out for that on Sophia's YouTube page. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.